everyone, my name is Shayna and I'm with Elder Lundy, and we want to go further into and build upon the last video that gave the introduction on the father and son celebration, and we want to give more historical context to it. So Mr. Richards, can you just briefly explain the context of the last video, just so we can bridge the gap, go into this one?
Well, in the last interview, we talked. I gave a historical background of, a lot of personal things that was involved in it, with respect to my son. That whole bit that we don't have to regurgitate that. We don't have to bring that back up. But that was a part of it, and we talked about why I did it, why I wanted to start the father and son thing celebration. And talked a little bit about, I didn't go into detail, and that's what we can do today. Mm-hmm. I didn't go into detail about what the content was of the actual event.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Can you take us back to October 16th, 1995? What was the experience like attending the Million Man March? So this is the image here.
That was the bus. That was the bus we rode on, and I took the picture, so that's why I wasn't in it. I really don't like that,
Yeah.
But that's my son on the right,
mm-hmm.
and that was the guy that was working with him. He had a lawn care business at that time, and the guy to the right is working with him, and the guy in the middle with the camera is my oldest nephew. I have 13 nephews, and he's the oldest. His name is James.
Wow.
And the one next to him he's somewhere down in there. He's one of my nephews. His name is Kamari.
Oh.
Old guy. And the young guy was one of my mentees. I can't remember his name. He moved to New York, and I gave him a good going off thing. I gave him a nice book, and he thanked me for it profusely for telling him about that. But that was when we got off. We got off the bus, and we were still. I guess some of the things that I would like to share with the public is because you had to be there to experience it. Riding, we rode into DC area on the outskirts of the city about 5 o'clock in the morning. But on the way, as we got closer to DC, there were thousands of cars and vans, and brothers were hanging out the windows. Right on, brother. They were cheering, and the one thing that really was fascinating to me was when we pulled up to one of those truck stops.
Yeah.
When we pulled up to that truck stop, we went in that building, in that little building, those Caucasian men was trembling. They were trembling. They'd never seen that many black men. Okay, they were scared. They didn't know what was happening. They was like, oh God. And that to me was a shift, because we're usually that way. There's a lot of them, and we're usually scared. And I was like, oh, okay.
I can only imagine, like, walking into a gas station. Usually, when you walk in, you're always concerned, I'm black, or I gotta act this way, or I gotta act this. But you didn't have that sense of feeling when you walked in there, because there was so many black men around that you felt
empowered.
Wow.
I mean, I felt like there wasn't anything we couldn't do.
Wow.
That's the power when black men come together.
Wow.
Okay, so that was the first part that got it. So when we arrived, brothers was hugging and embracing each other. I mean, you didn't even know guys. They was everybody was right on, brother. I'm glad you're here.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm gonna put these on the screen for everybody to see. But it was
one of those guys in that picture is Barbara's brother.
Barbara's brother. Wow.
Okay. Now, when this is what I was getting ready to say. When we got off the bus, I told you about that experience. These are the first guys that I saw, and I went to school with them. There's the first guys that I said, what's the likelihood of that happening? A million men. Those were the first guys that I saw. I couldn't believe
Wow.
it.
Wow.
The taller guy, his father was a tremendous jazz musician. He's a jazz musician, but he's not as good as his dad was. And the other guy was a businessman, worked for Procter & Gamble down in Cincinnati. And he lived down the street from me growing up. And the other guy, his father was a famous photographer. He's the one that did all those pictures you see about Columbus. His father did those photographs.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Tell me, what made you want to go? Why did you go to the Million Man March?
Well, I was in the military when the 1964 march was, and I wanted to go to that. Back then, I wanted to go because I knew it was going to be history. You know, I was smart enough to know that that was history. So I wasn't able to go. So when I heard one of my mentees was Muslim, and he said, Brother Lundy, you know, we're going to be doing a Million Man March or whatever. I said, I'm in. You know, I knew I was going to be in. Now, I talked to the minister, and he said, we're going to have a bus. And I said, well, that's even better. So then I started trying to get other guys to go, you know, and people were going through all kind of changes about that. Well, I don't like Minister Farrakhan. I said, it ain't even about Minister Farrakhan.
Okay,
It's about black men coming together.
Yes.
And that was what it was. We were going to Washington, D.C. to atone for our transgressions. We were atoning for the way we treat our women. We were atoning for the way we were neglecting our children. You know, it's so you can't get into personality.
Yeah.
It's bigger than that. And it was much bigger than that, and it proved it with more than a million. It was more than a million there.
Wow.
I can tell you it was more than a million.
Wow.
Every street, every alley, every corner was filled with brothers. Everywhere you looked, there was nothing but brothers.
Wow.
Okay? They had helicopters, police helicopters running over there. They had police on horses. We didn't have one incident. There wasn't one argument. There wasn't one fight. There wasn't none of that because it was love. And that was a 1 in a million kind of thing. And that's why, to me, when I hear brothers still talk about it and negatively about it, I say, you're missing the point. You're not dealing with all the goodness that came out of that. You know, I mean, we saw little boys like that big, and they were sitting there dealing with other little boys that they didn't know anything about.
they didn't even know each other.
They were sitting down on
that.
I had a shot. I don't know where it is now.
Okay.
But these guys, they're just sitting there. They like they've been knowing each other because they feel comfortable because Dad is there. When Dad is there, little boys feel empowered. They feel like nothing can hurt them when Dad is there. See what I'm saying? You feel like you can do anything that you want to do when Dad is there. And that's why dads are so important. And that's why, so when I decided I wanted to go, the other thing I thought about was I had 2 sons, both different mothers, but neither one did I raise. And I said, this is be an olive branch.
To reach out
I'm
to
going to
them.
reach out to my sons, and I'll invite them to go, and I have to be able to deal with whatever comes. The oldest son said, yeah, I'll go. The young one, I ain't going. I don't want to go. You know, and I was okay with that. I didn't push him on that. And so when my oldest son said yes, I knew that was a break in our relationship. So I felt really empowered right then. I said, that's because he had rejected all my overtures before that. See what I'm saying? So he said yes. And that's all I needed because we're going to be sitting on the bus.
For all that time. Yes.
So we get to talk.
So this was an opportunity for you to reconnect with your sons.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And for him to see how I interact with men. It's important for sons to see how their father handled men.
Yes. Yes.
See what I'm saying? They don't get intimidated. A youngster needs to be able to, we have to teach these young boys how to go into a room when they're nothing but men and don't feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
You're a man too.
Yes.
You know, there's just another man.
You know what? Even at work, you know, sometimes I'll be the only woman. It'll be a room full of men. And I will feel that kind of energy shift a little bit. So I can only imagine if you are a man, you need to know how to deal with that masculine energy. I mean, it was a lot of masculine energy in there.
Right. And,
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience. They showed videos on the bus.
Wow.
Malcolm
Videos.
X.
Oh my gosh.
Stanley Carmichael.
Wow.
Of H. Rap Brown. So the young brothers got to see that. And the guys on the bus that were older could talk about that.
Oh my gosh. So while you're on the bus going down to DC for all that time, you're getting educated on political consciousness and having conversations about it on the way there with your kids, with the youth. So you got the elders, you got the middle age, all generations on the bus talking about it.
49 men on the bus.
Wow.
And if you see that movie, there's a movie out called Get on the Bus.
Okay.
And it was made for that. And it's almost the same story that I have. because there was an old brother on the bus with us, an older brother. I mean, he was but the brother was wise. And he would always throw some gems of wisdom out there that everybody would be like, oh, you know. And on this bus, it was the same thing.
Wow.
See what I'm saying? I mean, so you had different conversations going on at different, the chairs didn't swing, but the guys would sit up on their arms, and so they'd have little conversations here. And some of the young ones would be talking about Malcolm, and some of the other ones would be talking about, I never heard of Stokely Carmichael, and so there was a lot of social interaction. Okay, in a safe. See, brothers are never in a safe space. When we go and we're in an all predominantly white thing, that's not a safe place for us.
No, it's not.
And so you can't just be yourself.
No, and you can't talk about the things you want to talk about. You can't ask the kind of questions you want to ask because you got to consider other people's feelings.
Right.
But how important is that? Is being able to be in a space where everybody's the same, and you can really get those things out and talk about those things. And also too, you're not being put down. It's all upliftment. It's all love. It's in the name of love and acceptance and appreciation. We don't even get that today.
No. So that was some of the things. But the real impetus for me to want to do that was I have 13 nephews.
Oh.
With my 2 sons, that's 15. 12 of those young men were raised without fathers. So to me, because most of them turned out pretty good, I said, what a testament to them. Because they came up doing, I know what it must have been like, because I had a father in the home, but he was an abusive alcoholic. So that wasn't good, but he kept order. You know, I knew that I had to pay attention to what my mother was saying, because I had to go deal with him. So that was what the way my mother and father dealt with that. You know, if I got out of hand, she would say, well, you got to go see your dad, you know, and dad would take care of that. So that was important to me, because I wanted my nephews to feel good about themselves. And I said, and my expectation was they would all come to the father and son thing. Gotcha. Okay, but that didn't happen. But it still helped a lot of other guys. A lot of other guys. And my mother was against it, because she said, you know, we raise you boys, and you know, your mother should be able to come. And I tried to explain to them. I said, Mom, I'm a man. I've been in the military. I've been out of the country. I know about men. If you bring women into an equation, if you're trying to deal with some men stuff, it ain't gonna happen. You know,
I could see that.
And my sisters were against it, you know, because they were left with those young boys or whatever. And I got a lot of flack from the public when I went out trying to sell it. You know, I got a lot of flack.
Well, before we get into the father and son, I want you to break down and go back and explain the marching order.
The marching order that we got?
that you got that day, and how you got to the father and son.
Well, they had a number of prolific speakers. I mean, they had, one of my boys was one of the baddest ones, Obadiah Shaka. Okay, so they fired you up. So then when the minister finally came on, he said, what I want you, all 1 million of you guys, what I want you to do when you go back to your community, I want you to get involved in your community.
Yes, there you go.
Now, I don't want you to go back there and just talk about this march and sit there and don't do anything. You can start a voting rights campaign. You can start a after school program. You can adopt a school. You know, he just went on a litany of things that we could do. And so I said, wow, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And on the way back, everybody was still excited, and people were talking we're talking to each other. I mean,
they were hyped, for sure. And it's got all that.
So you heard brothers, they were bullying. Yeah, I'm gonna do this when I get back. I'm gonna do this. And what I told the brothers, I said, look, I hear what everybody's saying, but I had experience, just like I keep telling you. I've had experience. I said, rather than us take on some big things that we are going to fizzle out on, I said, there's a couple of things that we can agree to do that doesn't cost any money, it's not going to get us in any trouble, you know, that we can do. I said, one, when we see each other on the street, speak to each other.
Oh,
Because
that's a
brothers
big
don't
one.
speak to each other.
I'll be honest, even with me, I don't talk to nobody in the street.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and you know, after you walk by somebody
Yeah.
and you don't say nothing, you kind of feel
That's right.
that like,
That's right.
dang, I should have
That's
probably.
right.
Why, you know,
Right.
like.
That's the example that I use. Dogs acknowledge each other. Don't dogs acknowledge each other?
They
And
sure
here
do.
we are, human beings,
We don't need
not
that.
acknowledging each other. And so I said, that's one thing we can do.
Yeah.
The second thing we can do is stop calling our women out of their names.
Oh, the B word, hoes.
Right. I said we can stop. We can do that. We don't need anybody. We can say that that's
can just stop.
And I said our women would certainly appreciate that.
Yep.
They would say if nothing else came out of that march, they stop calling us those names.
Yep. Stop
And so-
degrading us.
And so then they were going to have a big meeting. One of the local bigwigs in Columbus, he went on the march. He has a radio show and comes on every Sunday. And so he was going to run it, and I'm like, how did he get to be the guy that's going to run this? So they had a big meeting at the OSU Extension Center,
Okay. All right.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a whole lot of women there. I mean, a whole lot of women came because they was trying to look at them brothers. When the brothers get together, women want to be there. And that's the other thing that you got to do. You got to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And see, women got to start not do that because you're taking them off their thing because we're going to outdo the next brother.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
the
be
ego
blackest,
session.
I'm gonna be the blackest. I'm gonna be the best football player. I'm smarter than every. That's gonna start coming out.
The ego, and
Yeah.
that's a distraction.
That's a distraction. So I listened to what they had to say, and I said I'm not gonna be a part of that because they're not gonna do nothing. They coming up with the grandiose stuff. I had to butcher bulletin boards up. They're not gonna do all that. You can't keep brothers' attention that long. You gotta have them do something. So I talked to the young guy, the guys on the picture. Where's the picture on the bus, in front of the bus? Yeah, I talked to those guys.
Gotcha.
Those were the guys that we talked to after they got through talking about what everybody's gonna do on the bus. I just started talking to them.
Okay, this group
And that's
here.
when I said, this is what I propose. I propose that we celebrate black men. Because nobody ever celebrates black men. We are dogged out and back in
Yes.
the 90s, we didn't have, our press was pretty bad back then.
It still is.
It still is, but it was really bad then.
Wow, I can only
See what
imagine
I'm
how
saying?
bad it was back in
And
like
so-
the 70s and 80s
And so,
and 90s, yeah.
so I told them, I said, let's do that, let's celebrate. I said, then brothers will want to participate.
Yep.
That was what my thinking was. And I said, that would be perfect, and it can be consistent with the march because it's an outgrowth of the march.
Yes.
It came out of that. So what more positive thing could happen than for 1 million brothers to march on to Washington and come out of that with an annual celebration to commemorate the march. So I'm thinking this is a win-win.
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is a win. I'm gonna have all these brothers that went to that thing, they're gonna be beating the doors down and whatever. Didn't happen.
Oh my goodness. I played the video. It's playing right now. Because this here, that was Farrakhan, you got your marching orders, and this is where you started the father and son celebration.
Right. That's my son, that's the first event.
That's the very first.
And what he did was what I wanted him to do. And he took that time to air out a lot of frustration he had with me.
Oh.
People came up to me, they said, you know he was gonna say all that? I said, I wanted him to say all of that.
Okay.
So he unloaded.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad didn't do this. My dad didn't do. He wasn't there for this. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was healing.
That was healing. Yeah, he had to get that out.
That was healing. So now, how many other guys out there?
Yeah, and that's why we need to do the celebration. Is because one man's pain is another man's gain. And so if one man shares his pain and his truth, then another man's gonna say, dang, that resonates with me, and then it makes him want to go and take that journey too.
A couple of other events I'll share and let you get back to the questions. Was we always had a young guy speak, and he could be 18 to like 25. We'd always have a young person to speak and talk about his relationship with his father, whatever it was. Okay?
Wow.
That was powerful.
Wow.
Okay, that was powerful.
Wow.
One brother got up and he just broke out crying. Now, would he have cried with women there?
No.
No.
Come on, talk about it.
See, he just broke out crying. I'm sitting there nervous. I'm like, what's happening? What's here? So he started talking, and he said, I will be honest with you. The reason that I'm crying, he said, because I got a bunch of buddies, and when I talk to them, none of them have a relationship with their father. And my father is my best friend.
Wow.
How powerful is that? Now, look at all the little guys out there that got issues with their dads, and they listen to this guy crying, saying that his father is his best friend.
Wow. And look how many young men, young boys don't have that.
That's right. And then
Wow.
there was another guy, one year there was another young brother. He was, this brother that got up was about 25, he cried. But the 18-year-old guy that got up and talked, he cried. This was another year. The reason he was crying, because his dad was in prison and he was reaching out to his dad and his dad was rejecting him. Now, how many young kids hear that? See what I'm saying? That's the power in the father and son celebration. Wow. See, it's the healing that takes place. You know, there was a gentleman there and he was with a young guy about the size of Eli. And they didn't look nothing alike, you know. And I went to the table and I introduced myself. And he said, I'm getting ready to marry this lady's son, this guy's mother, and she told me I had to take him here.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
She's telling him, if you're gonna deal, y'all, this is a good time to start.
Wow. That.
And one of the other positive things about the father and son celebration is we would allow, if there were single moms that had sons that they wanted them to come, we would let them come and we would sit them at a table with fathers and sons.
Now, being a single mom, when I hear something like that, I'm all over it, because one thing that I've noticed is that even though technically I can raise a human being into their adult years safely, I can provide shelter, I can provide food, I can support them, yes. But one thing that I cannot do for a young man is teach him how to be a man. I don't know how to do that. There's certain mannerisms, certain things, how to interact with the other men, you know what I'm saying? There's certain things, sex, there's certain things, relationships. I can't teach. Only another man can show you how to love another woman. I can't do that. And so when I hear stuff like that, there's a celebration where I can put my son in a situation where they're around other men. I'm all for it.
No alcohol.
No alcohol.
We're not talking about sports.
You're not talking about sports. You're not
We're
talking about drugs and
girls. You know, we're talking about men's stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we have a speaker. One of the speakers we'd have, I bring in
I see Joyce Beatty here.
I take a pretty top speaker and bring him in, and he talks about the status of black men at that time. Where are we? Where are we in the city of Columbus as black men? Okay? Come on, that means brothers got to get up and do something. Because any speaker that I had, if they wasn't saying nothing, I wouldn't bring them in. See, so let me see what you gonna say. You know, if you in there talking all that fun stuff, no, we talking about. I want these young people to get something, and when they leave, they got something more than a rah-rah speech.
That's right. That's right. Because really, where are we to go to get an idea of what state we're in?
Right.
We really don't have anywhere to go today.
Right.
Because if I want to know, okay, this is the state of Black America, what we need to do, where can you go to get viable truth that really pertains to the black community?
Right.
Nowhere.
Right.
A lot of us go to TikTok, and that's
icky.
You know, there's no, you know, ever since Farrakhan, you know, has, you know, kind of retired from being out in the front, who's out there, you know, sounding the alarm?
That's right. That's right.
I don't see anyone. We need that.
Because brothers are hurting.
Yeah.
And brothers, I call it brothers suffer in silence. All brothers are suffering in silence. We look like we're okay.
Yeah.
We ain't okay. We're hurting.
Yeah.
we're hurting, and our ego and pride and low self-esteem won't let us deal with it. You know, because we're not in touch with ourselves. And one of the things you said earlier that I've shared with you before is I'm developing a hypothesis that says there's a male worldview and there's a female worldview.
Yep.
And if we can accept that, then you can get at the differences, just like you said.
Yeah.
But see, if you get into a one-on-one talk about, you're gonna be, well, you do this and you do, no. Women can't raise a boy to be a man.
No, we
And
cannot.
I always said that women would get mad, they'd get fighting mad. My sisters, they
No.
would get fighting mad at me
No.
because I say that.
No.
I said, no, this is truth.
Yeah.
This is true. You can't do it.
Yeah.
The example that I use, if you go back to when you were on a farm, my father was a sharecropper. And when he was like 7, 8 years old, he got to cut the apron strings, and he was my dad. So he'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go out and feed the chickens, milk the cows, do whatever, all the things that dads do. Okay, so now dad is showing him something. Dad says, he picks up the dirt, and he takes the dirt in his hand. He tells his boy, he says, son, what is that? He says, that's dirt. He says, look at that dirt. That's rich earth dirt.
Yeah.
You can put seeds in this dirt, and this dirt will grow whatever. You can't get that from a mother.
No. We can tell them about the dirt,
Yeah, but she's not gonna think about it.
but she
She ain't gonna be thinking about it. She's thinking about how to take care of her kids. And the work that she gotta do on the farm.
yeah.
You know.
Even like with my own experience, you know, when it comes to the masculine side of to do on your own without being told, that's a masculine trait. And we all have masculine and feminine traits.
Right.
But for example, if I'm with my kids and I'm like, hey, as a man, you know, you're a young man, hey, grab the door, hold the door open for me. You know what I'm saying? If I tell my sons to do that, they're like, dude, why you can't do it? You got arms, do it yourself.
Right.
But if there's a man in the house, he's not looking, but if there's a man in the house that is doing it already, and the young man is seeing that, I don't have to sit there and try to tell him to do it. He gets it himself because he's watching his father treat his mother that way. That's what I mean, which I can't teach him how to be a man because I can't. They're not, when a mom is raising a son, the son is like, you do it yourself. Like, you good, you got arms, you strong. Sometimes I'm like, yo, my back hurts. He grabbed his groceries and they're like, what's wrong with you? And I don't look at it as disrespect. I look at it as they need their dad. Because if their dad was here, I wouldn't even have to ask. He'd get the groceries, and then the boys would just naturally see that.
The bigger issue though is mothers can't deal with a boy when he tries out for something and he fails. You have no idea what that feels like for a male. You have no idea. When I went out for the basketball team at my high school, I wanted to get on that team so bad because that was the first time that I saw my mother react to anything that boys did. My brother-in-law was a star football player. He wasn't my brother-in-law at the time, but he was a star football player at the high school. He was an all-city, all-state. And my mother took time out of her schedule to listen on the radio. We didn't have a television.
Oh.
Listen to him I said, oh yeah, I can get my mom, if she's listening to him, she'll listen to me. So man, I'm ready, I'm going out for the team. I'm small, I'm not that big or whatever. I got no encouragement from my dad. My mom didn't care. That didn't have nothing to do with, you know, get that education, whatever. She didn't thinking about that. Okay, so I still went out. When I went out Saturday morning, I'll never forget it. They didn't have district boundaries. You could go inter-district, you could go whatever. Our high school won the state championship a lot, so everybody came in. So when I went out for that team on Saturday morning, it was 80 boys.
Wow.
80.
Now how you gonna get through 80 people?
See what I'm saying? And I had to, me and my buddy, both of us was left-handed. And we were little, you know, and I stayed with the team. What they did was they ran full courts.
Suicide.
They were in full courts in the morning. I mean, for most of the morning, and they eliminated a whole lot of people like that because you couldn't dribble, you couldn't, you know, they could eliminate a whole lot of cats. And I remained on the team till the day before the season started.
Wow. Wow.
I was crushed. I was crushed.
They let you go the day before the season
right.
started.
And the coach was short. And I'm like, brother, you know, he said, we going tall this year. So they took some tall, sorry guys. That year they had the worst team. I was so glad, you know, because those big guys couldn't play, you know. So your mother can't help you with that. Or she's gonna say, oh, get over it, or don't cry, or that ain't, no, that ain't what you need. You need, just go back next year. If my father just had said that, he could have said, just go back, you ain't got to worry, just practice all summer and go back next year. I would have did it. But you didn't get that. So now I got mad. So now I'm gonna be a terror in school. I didn't care about school. I don't care about my grades. You know. Okay, so now you're off on another trip. So now when you get on that negative path, so now you don't know anything about girls, and so that's where your attention goes. When you couldn't get to sports, your attention goes to girls. Okay, so now you're in uncharted waters again. Okay, you don't know how to deal with girls. You don't know nothing about girls.
I agree.
You
I agree. I know what it is to be a woman and how it feels in my body, but I don't know what that's like from a male's perspective.
Right.
And having a bunch of testosterone running through them. Like even with me, like having, you know, sons, I understand that sex is, you know, on their mind and their testosterone and they're going into puberty, and I'm like, but a man can tell you this is what you do with that testosterone.
Right.
This is what, when you get that feeling. I can't tell a young man that.
Right.
That's why fathers are so important.
Right.
I could do my best to teach them what it is and what to avoid.
Right.
But as far as how to handle that testosterone, what do you do when you see a woman you're attracted to? That's where a father comes in.
Right. You know, or when you shy. You know,
Yeah.
I was afraid
How do you
to
talk
ask
to
her,
girls?
You can't. A mother can't. A mother can't help you with that.
No, I be talking to Eli
You
sometimes.
can't
I honestly like, I wish you could just call your dad because I don't know what to tell you.
You know, I mean, I remember
Plenty of them, man. Plenty of them. I see so many of them. I just
I remember going to my first dance. I was 15. First dance. My mother bought me a brand new London fall coat. That's when there's London fall coat with the plaid inside. I thought I was it. I'm going to the dance. Now all my buddies didn't want to go to the dance. They was thugs. They wanted to hang out stealing and that kind of stuff. And I said, I'm going to the dance. And I had 4 sisters, so I knew they would be there. So I could, once I got in there, I could find them. I'd be a little comfortable. So I remember I walked down the street. I walked to the dance hall. And I peeked around the corner and I saw a bunch of older people standing out in front. You know, they were all out in front. The brothers was sharp. So then my confidence was gone. You know, I said, I don't feel like, because they're going to know me and they're going to be talking about this little junior London. you know, I can't be cool. They're going to be, you know. So I must have waited an hour before I went in. I was scared to go in there, but now your father can help you with that. Nobody else can tell you. Ain't no woman gonna be able to tell you, oh, just go on in there. You know.
Just go in there with a flower and talk to her. Like, that's what I would say. Like, you know, what do girls like, you know?
And then...
Well, you need more depth than that.
And then when I got in there, I saw a young girl that was in my grade, and I felt relieved. I said, well, I know she'll dance with me. But it took me forever. The dance was almost over before I got up enough courage to ask her to dance. Okay, I'm standing there with Baya right there. I'm like, so they played. It was like they turned up. They blinked the lights and said, "This is the last record," you know, and it was a slow record, right? So I'm standing there. I said, "You got your coat on. You got to do." So I'm standing there and like a idiot. I said, "Want to dance?" And she said, no. I was crushed. I just turned and walked out the door. And when I got home, I told my mother I'm never going to another dance.
Now, if Dad was around, he would have said, pick up your chin.
Right.
It's all right.
You're going to get that all the time, bro. That ain't no big deal. You're going to get that all the time. You know, you're just getting accustomed to that. You know. And so, you know, those are things that when I talk to people about the importance of fathers are important. And what they've done, first of all, we've forgotten that the first thing they did when they brought us over here enslaved was took the father out of the home.
Yes.
The father's still not in the home. In
Yes.
2025, we're
Come
still
on.
not in the home.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
They don't have no presence. Look at some.
70%. 70%.
Look at some of your friends that's fathers in the home. They either wimps, they beating their wives, or they're okay. You know, there's three categories. They're okay, you know, but they're not providing for the young boys psychologically, emotionally, spiritually,
socioeconomically.
Socioeconomic. They're not providing those things the tools that they need when they get out into the world. It's all of us going out. My son used to say, Dad, it's like when a guy's raised without his dad, it's like they put you out into the world with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah, you know what? That's how I view it. Because they always say, oh, a woman can do the same job as a man, or a woman can raise a man. And I'm like, you gotta look at it in two parts. Technically, I can raise a human being into adult age.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can do it, sure. I can provide, I can make sure they go to school, I can go ahead and support them and do it, yes. But the other part of that, when that child is an adult and goes off into the world, is he whole? Does he have a sense of self? Because 50% of the blood that is running through that child's veins is the father. And if all that child grew up was just knowing the other 50%, which is the mom, he's going into the world halfly knowing who he is. There's half of him he don't even know about because he didn't have the other half to show him who he is, show him different parts of himself. So is that child going out whole? I don't know. The child is not going out whole if they're only getting their mother.
And the other thing, if the people wouldn't do it, but if you do the research and you deal with those brothers that are successful without a father, they're still missing it.
They're still.
I don't care that they got the money. I don't care that they look the part. They're still missing it, and it's going to show up in their life.
Emotionally, we were talking
what I'm
about this
saying.
about how emotionally a lot of if you grow up and you didn't have a man in a home, a healthy man in a home, then you're gonna be experiencing your emotions like a woman, feminine, because we all have masculine and we all have feminine characters and traits within us and emotions. But if you don't have a man at home to teach you, if you have an argument or something happens, this is how you handle it, then you're gonna get it off of your mom. And there's a lot of young men that are very emotional with how they deal with life.
That's right.
And you're still missing it. Okay, yeah, you make money, but you are treating your relationships. You're being very emotional in your relationships and how you handle other women.
Absolutely. Yep.
What is the solution? So, in partner with, you got your marching orders, you came up with the God idea to say, yes, let's go ahead and, celebrate fathers and sons. What do you see as the overarching solution, how the father and son is the solution to the black problem in our community, which is?
I looked at my relationship with my father and saw what I didn't have and knew why I didn't have it. I was smart enough to know I didn't have it all because I didn't get the stuff that I needed from him. The things that I got from my father was, he was an avid reader. He was very clean and he dressed sharp. And he worked every day. He went to work every day. If he would get fired on a Friday, Monday, he would have another job. My mother, she wouldn't have that. You gotta get a job, buddy. I don't care what you gotta do, but you can't come back in here with no job. So I never saw my father without a job. He always had a job. He gave us an allowance, and back in those days, very few kids got allowances. So those are some of the good things that I got. One of the things that I share with a lot of young brothers, one of the things that I saw in my dad that it really fascinated me was to watch him shave. See, again, that's something that you can't see with your mother. I watched him shave. My dad had long sideburns, and I watched him shave with a straight razor, and I saw him do this. I said, how does he do that and not cut his throat? You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about one of them straight razors. That's how he shaved, okay? And so those are things that you learn from watching your dad. I watched him get up every day. He didn't have no, I don't use an alarm clock. My dad didn't use an alarm clock. My mother didn't use an alarm clock. When I go to bed, I want to wake up at 7 o'clock. I can wake up.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So when young people tell me I can't get up,
You just don't want to.
see,
Yeah.
and like I tell young people about going to college, one of the tricks that they put on college students is they know that when he graduates from high school, they pretty much know that he didn't like to get up. And he knows that you nagged him to get him up. They know that your mother nags him to get him up. So when they move to college, they think they're still in high school. So when they get there on the campus and they have an 8 o'clock class, if they stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning with their boys, they ain't gonna get up and go to no 8 o'clock class. But they hadn't read the syllabus because nobody taught them what a syllabus was. And on the syllabus it said if you miss 3 classes, your grade level drops a grade. So most black boys flunk out because of that. But when they go home, they lie to their parents because they're embarrassed.
Wow. Wow. But yeah, they don't flunked out.
They flunked out on a technicality, you know, some ignorance.
Yep.
So they're not gonna tell their parents, well, yeah, the reason I flunked out is I didn't go to my 8 o'clock class. They ain't gonna do that.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, Mr. Richard, this, I mean, I can see how, you know, this is the solution, you know, is the restoration of the black family and fathers
Right.
and sons and having that connection.
We gotta come back together.
Tell me what made you stop the celebration, because this was like 15 years that
Right.
you've been doing this, but you said around COVID, you know, it
Well,
stopped.
right before that, what happened was the last year, 1 year that I did the Father and Son Celebration, I took hits every year financially, okay, because it never panned out the way I thought it would do. I panned out, you know, I did everything that I needed to do.
I mean, it looks beautiful.
You know, I did everything that I was supposed to do, cross my T's, dotted my I's, but the mindset of the people. Like I said, some brothers didn't want to come because they were raised by their moms, and they thought it was an insult to, you know, go to do that. Some brothers thought, well, you should have women there, that's fair, we trying to be equal. But I said, we can't be equal if we're both broken.
Yeah. Men need time to go
We
heal.
need time to go
Women
heal,
need our
and
own
women
space
need
and
to
time to go
heal.
heal. Yeah.
You know, then we can sit down and start
come
talking.
together,
We
yeah.
get together, all we're gonna do is point fingers.
And that's what you see today.
Right.
We can never see black women are this, black men are that, and we're constantly going back and forth and
Right.
forth. And
Our
I'm
kids
thinking
are
to
still
myself,
suffering.
and the kids are suffering. And I'm like, yo, you are clearly hurt to the man, and then I'm looking at the woman, you're clearly hurt.
Mhm.
We need our own
Yes,
space.
you need your own space, and I tell people that all, and they get mad, they still get mad when I tell them that. I'm saying, come on.
Yeah.
I saw my sisters. One of the things, I'm gonna write a book about being raised the youngest with 4 sisters, because most people, the first thing they say is, oh, you were spoiled. My sisters didn't do jack for me. They didn't like me because they had to take me with them all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't like it, so I rebelled and I
Yeah.
acted out, and you know, I'd go to the movie and talk loud, and we get thrown out of the movie.
Oh boy.
So they was like, oh man, Mom, please, we don't want to go. So they didn't like. He was like, please, Junior is a pain. Okay. So they didn't, they didn't iron my clothes. I had to iron my own clothes with 4 sisters and a mother. So that wasn't happening. So I saw them, and I was very sensitive. But I couldn't be me because my dad was so domineering and strong and rough and aggressive and talk. I'm not like that. That's not the real me. But I took that on because that's what I saw all the time. See what I'm saying? And women don't know that when they didn't deal with a man. I tell young girls, if you talk to a young boy, the first question you really want to ask him is, how does he get along with his dad? If he says he doesn't get along with his dad, you don't want to deal with him because he's got issues.
He's got father issues.
He's got father issues.
Yep.
And he's looking for a mother in a woman. He's looking for a girlfriend, but he's also looking for a mother. So what he's doing is he's putting his mother, projecting his mother onto the girl. My mother does this, so she should do that.
Oh.
And that's when they run into trouble.
Yep.
Because you run into the wrong young lady, she'll say, "No, brother, I don't do that." And like now, I don't know what it's like now, but when I was a youngster, we dated girls that didn't have sex with us if we liked them, and I did it a lot. you know, because I just liked the girl, you know, and she said, no, I'm not doing that, you know. And some guys, well, you should just drop her, you know. But if I liked her, I didn't care. You know, I would like it, but I didn't care.
That's so huge, because when people date nowadays, it's like the goal is sex.
Right.
What happened to just dating and
Having
just having fun and, you know, going to the ice cream shop, holding hands, going to the movies? Why everything gotta have sex around it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's all they see.
All they see is just
In the movies, on the videos.
There's no relationship
on the
without sex.
records, it's all about that.
you know.
And they make it bigger than life.
Yeah.
So our youngsters get to taking it.
That's the thing. It's like you have to be able to, you know, we have to bring back that relationship without sex, without it being around that. Because you know, if your goal is to have sex at an early age, you're going to get caught up in pregnancy or STD that you can't get rid of. And that's why sexual discipline is so important. And so we got to bring that back.
Here's another thing though. I tell young guys, every time you lay down with another woman, you leave a layer of your self-esteem, because you don't feel good. You feel good from the fact that you released and all of that, but you don't feel good about yourself. See what I'm saying? Because we will screw a snake. See what I'm saying? Brothers, I'm telling you, in the service, you see, when brothers go to the service and they go downtown for the first time, they've been on the base all that time, whatever they see, and we think that it's a sport or a notch on your gun, you know, and so you don't understand what it is. And when you don't know the purpose of a thing, you will abuse it.
Yeah, and that's what
And that's what we do.
That's what we do. We abuse the purpose of it.
Right.
And it's no longer a sacred thing to do.
Right.
It's now just a sport.
Right.
Man.
Fun thing.
Yeah.
You know.
So going back to so you said COVID is what happened. It kind of knocked you
no,
off?
that wasn't it. That was like 1 year I was late. The only year that I was late getting to the event.
Okay.
My nephew was there, and my son was there. They didn't do anything, and so brothers came in and didn't pay.
Oh.
So when I got there, I wasn't gonna go around to the table and say, "Did you pay? Did you pay?" So I took a hit that year. That financially, that was a big one.
Oh.
Never really got traction. I didn't get a lot of support from the churches, because the churches that I approached wanted to take it over. And that was their deal. You let us take it over. When I was having it at the King Center, this director there wanted to take it over. And I said, I'm not.
Because you're the one with the vision.
Yeah,
it's your thing, yeah.
And so, you know, I was just tired, because all those 15 years I didn't have an automobile. So I'm out there walking in the hot sun, collecting money and put posted signs up and all that stuff, because my heart was in it, because I believed in it, and I still believe in it. When Minister Farrakhan came to Columbus in 1985, that was the 10th anniversary. I talked to the minister here. I put together a portfolio with video, with my program bulletins, you know, with newspaper articles, and I said, give it to the minister. Don't give it to his assistant, because the assistant's going to petition. So I went to see the minister. He was downtown at the convention center. I went to see him and all of that, and he didn't give it to him. And so that crushed me again. I'm saying, like, well, come on, what am I doing wrong? And what I came to learn is the timing. It was the timing.
That's it.
It was the timing.
Yeah.
It wasn't the time for it. And that's why I relaunched it.
Yes.
Because this is the time for it. Behind every successful man, there's a strong woman. And I never could get that.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? That was what the missing link.
So it was like a woman was a missing link.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, God's been working on me. God's been growing me, because, you know, raising children on my own and then having 2 unsuccessful major relationships, it has helped me see, now that my boys are, you know, 18 and 15, I'm seeing who they were when they were young kids
Mhm.
to, to teenagers. And I'm like, they need a father. There's some things that I cannot do. I cannot teach them. And I see that, I desire that more than anything, is for them to be whole. And so when we connected and you talked about the father and sons, I was like, yes, we need fathers in the homes. Because also too, I was raised, in, white society like my whole life. And I don't see white people having an issue like I see black people with growing up without fathers. And so I'm seeing there's a huge lack when you don't have another a father in the home. I see a huge lack in that, and I want to do my part to
And
help.
see, like the other thing that I also want to do, like workshops with the father and son thing. On Saturday, when I first did the father and son thing, I wanted it to be a weekend event. Friday night, we would have a national speaker, somebody come in and talk about the state of African men in America.
Yeah.
Somebody could speak to that. And then Saturday and during the day, we wanted to have workshops, like to help brothers with insurance, would help brothers with child support, would help brothers with banking. Things that they don't have, that they ego won't let them talk about it. They go, oh, I got that,
Now that's the mentorship that you talk about that goes along with the father and son program.
Right.
So
you're recruiting mentors at the father and son thing. No?
Yes, so if the father and son isn't just, okay, fathers and sons come here and they just get celebrated. No, this is the entire, this is an entire program where it's also mentorship.
Right. We had father and son softball game at the Juneteenth.
Wow.
We did a financial workshop at the Children's Hospital. We did a father and son cookout at St. Stephen's, where fathers and sons, they had shirts.
Yeah.
They weren't as nice as this one, but we had shirts for father and son on it, and we gave away. They didn't have to pay. We did the father and son thing. We had workshops that were violence on violence and gangs.
Stuff that we
like
need.
that.
That's
Things
important.
that the young guys need, not just to go in there and say, right on, brothers. Right. No. When you
What's
leave,
tangible?
you say, that's helpful for me.
Yes.
I can use this. I can go do something about that. We talked about it with child support. I start talking to brothers about how the onus was on them, regardless of what the mother does. The onus is on you. You got to get in there. You got to deal with that because your son or your child is more important than this ego stuff that you're dealing with. So you can't deal with that. If you don't have a job, go over there and say, well, look, I'll pick him up and take him to school every day and bring him home. Or I'll sit down and study with him every night.
I always think why don't we have more black men that, have some substance and say, yo, I'll help in the community. I'll help you with your, because there's so many women that are raising kids by themselves. Yeah, why are we? And it's
because what you just said, there wasn't a man in the house that they saw doing that. The men that they saw came in trying to get over with their mothers.
And we see that today.
Yes.
We keep seeing black men trying to get over.
Right. It ain't no such thing. I got two kids because I
that's
thought
why
I was
this is
getting
so
over.
important.
I got 2 kids because I thought I was getting over.
That's why this is so important, because there's a lack of the do for self, the will to go and do that work. That's that masculine trait.
We did fellowship, networking. That was also done.
Come on now, networking. So when our young men come into this father and son connection and father and son celebration, they're getting mentorship. They're getting, what was that you said?
Fellowship.
Fellowship.
They're learning how to fellowship without drugs and alcohol.
Wow, powerful.
The first father and son celebration we had at the tables, I put pencils and little pads, and I said, when we break for dinner, when you guys at dinner, I want you to talk about how we redefine the term of what it means to be a man. I said, because we're operating under a definition that the European developed, and it doesn't work for us. don't work for us.
Doesn't work for us.
Doesn't work for us at all.
Mm.
How you gonna say you're a man and you can't protect your woman?
We have been.
How are you gonna say you're a man and you can't keep a roof over your mother's house, or you can't take care of your mother?
Mm.
How you say you're a man and you got little kids out there carrying AK-47s killing people? How you gonna say you're a man and you got a son? When I was working down at Pickaway, doing volunteering down at Pickaway, the young guy came in my last week that I was there, and it almost had me in tears. Young guy came in there. He was tall, he was handsome, he looked clean cut, whatever. And I asked him, I said, well, how long you got? He looked like he was 22 years old, 40 years.
Oh my God.
40 years.
40. You 22 years old. You got 40 years
That's your
to
whole
serve
life.
your.
That's your whole entire life.
Wow.
And so nobody, and see those guys that go in, they come out and lie about the jail. They say it's fun, it ain't that bad, you know.
It's awful.
It's awful.
I did 12 hours in a holding cell.
It's awful.
It was
It's
the worst
awful.
time of my life.
Right. And I think, knock on wood, I've never been and hope to never go, because I made up my mind when I was 15 years old that I was not going to no jail, because I know that it ain't all what they crank it up to be in there. They're gonna take advantage of you, you know, and you know, you come out being this little gay guy, you know, because they don't care. You know, they reduce them into the incarceration things to almost like animals.
And
they don't do rehabilitation. Ain't no
No.
such thing as rehabilitation.
nope.
And they didn't want me down there because I started having some positive effect on the guys.
Wow.
So when they don't want that, they don't. It's no. Man.
So that is great, because this is more than just an event. It's a movement.
Yes.
It's a movement.
Yes.
Because we don't see this anywhere where we are healing and having, you know, their black men having their own spaces to heal.
Mm.
This is exactly why these types of events is important.
Right.
You know, we need to make sure that we're celebrated in a positive light,
Right.
and we need to come together and unify for our freedom, for our collective freedom.
That's right.
And we're going to start here with the father and son celebration.
Malcolm X said it best. Until the last African is free, ain't none of us free.
This is why the father and son celebration is so important, and it's happening on the 18th of October. So I'm gonna have information for you on how you can purchase your tickets in the description. And if this resonates with you, we're gonna keep putting out more content that goes over the problems of Black America, the state of the Black family, and the solutions on how we can rise above it. So if this resonates with you, subscribe, and we'll be putting out more good content for you. Till next time, Hotep.